The desk is a graveyard of dead ideas and living questions. Physics, textbooks, their spines cracked from years of heavy use, lean against stacks of ancient philosophical manuscripts that smell of dust and forgotten logic. You push a heavy volume aside to clear a sliver of workspace, the sound of paper sliding against wood echoing in the cramped, windowless room. There is no music here, only the low, rhythmic hum of the ventilation system, fighting the heat of the equipment. You reach for a pen, but your fingers stop mid-air, hovering over a notebook filled with scribbled equations that lead nowhere. The air feels thick, saturated with the weight of centuries of inquiry. You have spent thousands of hours in this chair, tracing the movements of particles and the logic of stars. Yet the room remains stubbornly quiet. Every surface is covered. Every corner is occupied by the debris of a mind trying to map the infinite. You lean back, the chair springs groaning under the shift in weight, and you stare at the wall of books. The isolation is not an accident. It is a perimeter you built to keep the noise of the world out, so you could hear the faint, persistent signal you have been hunting. You are sitting at the center of a labyrinth, waiting for the silence to break. You shift your attention to the monitor. The screen glows, casting a pale blue light across your hands. A complex simulation of planetary orbits pulses in the center of the display, a digital clockwork of gravity and momentum. You tap a key, and the simulation accelerates, turning years of orbital decay into seconds of flickering light. It is a perfect, silent dance. For centuries, humanity has stood at this exact crossroads, peering into the vast dark of the universe, searching for the signature of a grand designer. You watch the planets trace their paths, their trajectories precise and unyielding. The software calculates the gravitational pull of every mass, every vector, every velocity. There is no error in the math. You lean in, your eyes tracking a small, simulated moon as it swings around a gas giant. It is a masterpiece of code. Yet, the more you watch the orbits align, the more the screen feels like a mirror reflecting your own obsession. You are looking for a creator in a system designed by human hands to exclude one. The simulation reaches its cycle, resets, and begins again, a loop of infinite, cold precision. You stare at the glowing lines, wondering if the search for an operator is merely a ghost in the machine. You look from the screen to the dusty book on the shelf. The simulation continues its relentless, silent rotation, a loop of predictable gravity that demands nothing from you but observation. Science has dismantled the clockwork of the cosmos, piece by piece, stripping away the mystery until only the gears remain. You watch the data points flicker, each one a testament to a universe governed by immutable, unyielding laws. There is no operator at the helm. There is no hand guiding the planets through their arcs. The screen offers only cold, predictable math, a sterile landscape where cause and effect operate without purpose or intent. You feel the weight of that realization settling into the room, cooling the air. The simulation is perfect, yet it is hollow. It explains how the universe moves, but it remains stubbornly silent on why it moves at all. You look back at the monitor, the blue light washing out the details of your desk. The orbits are precise, the vectors are calculated, and the outcome is always the same. It is a machine that functions with terrifying efficiency, indifferent to the observer watching it from the shadows. The void is not empty. It is filled with laws that do not care if you understand them. You pull your hands away from the keyboard and rest them on the desk. The surface is hard, cool, and unyielding. You begin to tap your fingers against the wood, a rhythmic, uneven sound that cuts through the hum of the cooling fan. Each tap is a small, desperate protest against the silence of the room. You watch your fingers move, wondering if this action is merely another mechanical response to a stimulus, or if there is a choice hidden in the cadence. The simulation on the screen continues to cycle, indifferent to your presence. Is the universe truly just this? A vast, silent machine grinding through its own gears until the energy runs dry? Or is this entire structure a message waiting for a reader? You stop tapping. The silence rushes back in, heavier than before. You stare at the desk, looking for a pattern in the wood grain, a sign that the world is more than the sum of its physical laws. The conflict pulls at you. To accept the machine is to accept the end of the search. To believe in the message is to risk everything you have built. You lean back, the chair creaking, and look at the blank space on your notepad. You reach out and click the mouse. The simulation vanishes, leaving the screen a clean white slate. The sudden absence of the rotating planets feels like a weight lifted from the room. You move the cursor to the top of the screen and open a new document. The blinking cursor is a steady, rhythmic pulse in the center of the void, waiting for input. You pause, fingers hovering over the keys. You are not looking for data anymore. You are looking for a way to translate the silence. You type the words secondary perception into the header. The letters appear, sharp and black against the white background. This is not a hypothesis to be tested or a theory to be proven. It is a bridge. You lean forward, the screen light reflecting in your eyes, and watch the words. They represent a departure from the rigorous, cold cycle of confirmation. You are choosing to step away from the demand for evidence and toward a more primal, intuitive way of knowing. The room feels different now. You adjust your posture, pull the keyboard closer, and prepare to write. The machine is gone. The message is waiting. You look away from the screen and your gaze lands on a stack of leather-bound notebooks tucked under the desk. You pull one out. The pages are thick with chemical formulas and precise, ink-stained graphs from your experiments last year. You remember the sterile smell of the lab, the hum of the centrifuge, and the way you would wait for the data to print, convinced that the truth lived in the numbers. You formulated your hypothesis, ran the tests, and recorded every reaction with absolute rigor. The chemistry was flawless. The results were consistent. Yet, as you flip through these pages, you feel nothing. The data explains how the reaction occurred, but it says nothing about why the events of that year unfolded. You recall sitting in the lab at midnight, watching the final readout, and feeling a hollow ache in your chest that no equation could resolve. You had captured the mechanics of the world but missed the meaning of your own life. The flaw stares back at you from the page. Science demanded evidence before you were allowed to believe. You close the notebook, the sound of the paper snapping shut echoing in the quiet room. You push the notebook away, letting it slide across the polished wood of the desk. The cycle is clear now. You see the trap of the scientific method. It is a closed loop designed to strip away anything that cannot be measured or repeated. You spent years perfecting this cycle, demanding that every event in your life pass through the filter of objective confirmation before you would grant it the status of truth. But life does not happen in a vacuum. It happens in the messy, unrepeatable moments that science discards as noise. You think of the coincidences that led you here, the sudden shifts in your path, and the people who entered your life without warning. None of these events came with a control group. None of them offered a p-value to justify their impact. By insisting on evidence, you had systematically excluded the very soul of your own history. You stare at the empty space where the book had been. The rigor that once felt like a shield now feels like a cage. You stand up, the chair scraping sharply against the floor, and turn your back on the desk. The cycle of confirmation is broken. You pace the length of the room, your footsteps rhythmic against the hardwood. The silence is no longer oppressive. It is expectant. You stop in front of the computer screen, watching the planetary orbits trace their endless, predictable paths. For years, you held the conviction that belief was the final reward. The gold medal awarded only after the race of evidence was won. But what if the race is rigged? You stop your pacing and press your palms against the cool surface of the desk. The thought hits you with the force of a physical impact. Science demands evidence before belief. Yet the universe might require belief before it reveals its evidence. It is a total inversion of your entire training. You consider the implications. If you wait for the data to speak, you are merely a passive observer of a machine. If you offer belief first, you become a participant in a conversation. You look at the cursor blinking on the blank document. It is a steady, rhythmic pulse waiting for input. You realize that by withholding your trust until you had proof, you were effectively blinding yourself. The evidence was never missing. It was simply waiting for the right observer to acknowledge its existence. You reach for the keyboard, your fingers hovering over the keys, ready to test this new, radical hypothesis. You walk toward the window, leaving the glow of the monitor behind. The air near the glass is cooler, carrying the faint scent of rain from the street below. You press your forehead against the pane, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. They look like scattered embers, chaotic yet forming a cohesive pattern if viewed from high enough. You reach out and trace a circle onto the condensation on the glass. Inside it, you draw the curved line of the yin and yang. It is a simple shape, yet it holds the weight of 1,000 years of observation. You stare at the symbol, seeing how the light bleeds into the shadow, and the shadow curls back into the light. It is a perfect, balanced loop. You realize that your current logic is too rigid to accommodate this flow. You have been trying to dissect the universe with a scalpel, cutting away the parts that did not fit your narrow definition of reality. But the world outside does not care for your definitions. It exists in the tension between opposites. You watch a car pass below, its headlights cutting through the dark, then vanishing. The duality is everywhere. You stand there, breathing against the cold glass, letting the image of the symbol settle into your mind as a new framework for understanding the world. You pull your hand away from the glass, the moisture on your fingertips evaporating in the room's warmth. The symbol you traced remains for a heartbeat before fading into transparency. You turn back to the center of the room, your mind snagged on a persistent contradiction. In the realm of the infinitesimal, science embraces the impossible. You know that an electron acts as both a particle and a wave, a duality that is fundamental to the very structure of matter. Physicists accept this paradox as a cornerstone of reality, building entire technologies upon the foundation of that uncertainty. Yet, when you shift your gaze to the grander scale, to the meaning of your own existence, to the synchronicities of a human life, that same logic is discarded. Science demands a singular, linear answer. It rejects the idea that a life can be both a series of chemical accidents and a meaningful narrative. Why is the atom allowed to be a mystery, while the human soul is expected to be a solved equation? You stop in the middle of the floor, the weight of this inconsistency pressing down on you. It is a double standard that has governed your research for years. You have been searching for a clockwork universe, ignoring the fact that the gears themselves are made of the very duality you refuse to acknowledge in your own life. You walk back to the desk, the floorboards creaking under your weight. The silence of the room feels heavier now, charged with the friction of your thoughts. You reach for a notepad, the paper crisp and stark against the dark wood of the desk. You pick up a pen, its weight grounding you. You press the tip to the center of the page. You begin to draw, the ink flowing in a steady, deliberate arc. You complete the circle, then divide it with the signature curve of the yin and yang. As you trace the two halves, the lines seem to vibrate under your gaze. You are no longer just sketching a symbol. You are mapping a collision. On one side, the cold, sterile data of your physics simulations. On the other, the messy, unquantifiable patterns of your own history. The pen pauses. You press harder, the tip digging into the fiber of the paper, creating a slight tear. The boundary between the two halves is no longer a clean line. It is a blurred, jagged edge where science and belief bleed into one another. You stare at the ink, watching it dry. The rigid walls you built around your logic are beginning to buckle. You realize that by trying to keep these worlds apart, you have been blinding yourself to the truth that connects them. You look at the words you have scribbled in the margins of your notes. They look small, frantic, and entirely inadequate. You try to articulate your discovery aloud, but the sound of your own voice feels jarring, a sharp intrusion into the quiet of the room. You realize that human language is built for speed, designed for the quick exchange of information, for the immediate and the transactional. It is a tool for survival, not for understanding. You speak a sentence, then stop, listening to the echo. It vanishes before it can even settle in the air. You compare this fleeting noise to the vast, slow-moving patterns you have spent years observing. The universe does not operate in the rapid-fire cadence of human interaction. It does not rush to be understood. It speaks in a tongue that is slow to reveal itself, built from the tectonic shifts of history and the quiet, persistent coincidences of a lifetime. These are not events to be summarized in a report or captured in a quick conversation. They are markers in a language that is impossible to forget once it is finally heard. You set the pen down, no longer needing to define what you are experiencing. The realization settles in your chest like stone. It has been speaking in a language that demands the one thing you have refused to give: time. You pivot back to the computer. The screen is still alive with the frantic, digital dance of planetary orbits. A simulation you once believed held the keys to the universe. You stare at the glowing lines. For years, you have been waiting for a thunderclap, a grand, loud answer that would validate your search with the cold precision of data. You wanted the cosmos to scream its secrets in a language you could measure. But as the cursor blinks in the corner of the screen, the silence of the room feels different. It is not empty, it is waiting. You realize with a sudden, sharp clarity that you've been looking in the wrong direction. Every coincidence, every strange alignment of events was actually the signal. You turn away from the desk and look toward the window, where the light is shifting, marking the passage of time. The silence in the room is heavy, no longer empty. You stand by the desk, your hands resting on the cool surface of the wood. You think back to the events you once labeled as mere chance. The way you met your mentor on that rain-slicked platform 10 years ago. The book that fell off the shelf at the exact moment you needed its specific answer. The recurring dreams that mirrored the geometry of your research. You had brushed these aside as statistical anomalies, artifacts of a chaotic world. Now, they rush back with the force of a tidal wave. They are not random. They are threads in a tapestry you refuse to see. You trace a line across the desk with your fingertip, following the grain of the wood as if it were a map. The urgency is physical now, a tightening in your chest. You realize that the conversation has been constant, a steady pulse beneath the surface of your daily life. You were the one who had stopped listening. The weight of these missed connections is immense. It demands to be acknowledged. You feel the pressure to stop analyzing and start witnessing. You are no longer a scientist demanding an answer. You are an observer, finally still enough to hear the silence that has been waiting for you all along. You turn your attention to the piles of paper scattered across the desk. These are not just research notes. They are logs of your own history, dates of meetings, sudden shifts in your career, and the strange, recurring coincidences you had long ago dismissed as noise. You pick up a handful of index cards and spread them out, aligning them by date rather than by subject. The pattern emerges instantly, a sequence of events spanning years that you had viewed as isolated incidents now locks together like gears. You see the day you moved to this city, the exact moment you lost your funding, and the chance encounter with a stranger that led to your current obsession. They were not accidents. They were markers on a path you were walking without knowing it. You trace the timeline with your pen, connecting the dots. The logic of the universe is not found in the cold, predictable laws of a planetary simulation. It is found in the messy, human, and deeply personal coincidences. The chaos you once feared is gone. In its place is a structure. You are no longer looking for a machine. You are finally reading the map of your own life. You stare at the ink on the page, the lines you drew earlier now appearing as a crude translation of something far more complex. The urge to categorize these events, to force them into a rigid scientific framework, rises in your chest, but you push it down. You take the notepad and turn it over, exposing the blank, white side. This is the space where the machine ends and the conversation begins. You are no longer looking for a grand, loud answer that fits into a textbook. You are learning a language. It is a tongue spoken in the rhythm of your own pulse, in the timing of a chance meeting, and in the way a single thought can alter the trajectory of a day. You realize that the universe never intended to be solved like a puzzle. It intended to be understood like a poem. You push the pens away, leaving the desk clear. The silence in the room is no longer an absence of data. It is a presence. You sit perfectly still, letting the noise of your own expectations fade. You are a witness, finally ready to listen to the syntax of the world as it unfolds around you. The shift is complete. You are no longer looking for a machine. You are learning a language.